Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. Taking a walk on the lake trail here in Palm Beach, and I want to show you the most beautiful tree and the oldest tree in Palm Beach. Here, take a look at this tree. This tree is about 200 years old. It's the oldest, most majestic, awesome tree in the town of Palm Beach. And I was thinking about this tree and about life. You know, tonight is Rosh Chodesh, the very first month on the Jewish calendar, which is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. When you look at this majestic tree, which is approximately 200 years old, you think about the fact that this tree began, like every other tree, with just a few little seeds. And these seeds have grown for 200 years into this beautiful, beautiful tree. And when you think about that, you realize that in life, like the moon of Rosh Chodesh that the Jewish people are compared to, not the sun, it all begins with a little bit of light, a few little seeds of goodness. And that little light continues to grow in strength and momentum until it becomes a full moon. And that is why the Jewish people are compared to the moon. Abraham and Sarah were two individuals, but they began a nation that has inspired and changed the entire world for the better through the Jewish people, which have had the longest endurance, like this tree. We have endured for 4,000 years. And like this tree that has weathered many storms, many hurricanes here in Florida, but has remained strong, the Jewish people have endured throughout all of the centuries and all of the millenniums. And the question then is, what is the secret to the strength of the tree? And here again, we find what the rabbis tell us on the verse that says, Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba, that the Torah is a tree of life for all those who hold on to the tree. V'somcheha, and those who cling to it and support it, Ma'ushar, will be fortunate. The secret of the Jewish people is that we've always held on to the tree of life, which is our Torah. The Torah has guided us through all the different life circumstances and challenges we've faced, all the storms and upheavals in our lives, collectively and individually. And the word Chaim, Eitz Chaim hi, it's a tree of life, as we sing every Shabbat when we put the Torah back into the ark. Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba. The word Chaim is spelled Chet Yud Yud Mem. The word life in English is also 4 letters, L-I-F-E. But the big difference, of course, is that the word life has the letters I-F in the middle, which means if. One way to look at life is it's all coincidence, it's all random, it's all circumstances, it's all by chance. And what will happen, if this will happen, if that will happen, no one knows. There's uncertainty. But on the other hand, the word Chaim has the letters Yud Yud in the middle, which we all know Yud and Yud spells the name of God. A life of Chaim means a life of faith in God, trust in Hashem's plan. Eitz Chaim hi, the Torah gives us the tree of life that we could all hold on to weather these circumstances and these challenges as the Jewish people who have held on to the tree of life for all of millenniums, and that is what has allowed us to continue to grow and to prosper as a nation. And during these trying times, surely we need to study more Torah and connect with the Chaim, with Hashem, who is at the center and the core of life. But finally, a third lesson. The name of the parsha that Jews around the world will start reading is Vayikra. And the word Vayikra means, and God called. Who did God call to? Moses. But our rabbis tell us that God didn't only call to Moses. We all know Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, was the greatest Jewish leader. And he had a calling in life, a mission, a purpose, to take the Jews out of Egypt, to give them the Torah, to bring them to the Promised Land. But God calls every one of us. Every person has a purpose and a calling and a meaning to their individual life. And often we go through life asking, what do I want from life? But what we really have to ask ourselves is, what does life want from me? And our rabbis point out that the word Vayikra in this week's parsha has a small aleph at the end of it. And that is because if you eliminate the letter aleph, you could read Vayikar, which means, and by chance and by coincidence, God encountered Moses. And this is the question that every person has to ask themselves. Do I read the word Vayakar, which means by chance I'm in this circumstance, I'm in this situation, or do I read the word Vayikra, God is calling upon me, God is trying to get my attention, God is asking something of me very specific, and I need to respond to the call of the hour. And this is an individual question that everyone has to ask. What is God calling me to at this moment? What is the reason for my circumstances? What is the yud? How am I going to draw on my faith? Like that tree, the way it weathered all its storms is the strength of its roots, which are long and protracted and deep. How deep is my faith that I can draw upon to weather this storm and realize what is my calling in life? Maybe God's trying to get my attention. Maybe take a pen and paper and write down what are some of the lessons I want to learn from this experience, so that in a year from now, in 2 years from now, you'll be able to look back at this moment and say, this is what I learned, this is what I realized. Conclude with a story about this college boy who went off to school, to university, and his father and mother would write him letters every month, ask him how he's doing, how things are going, and they would send him his monthly allowance in the mail, in a check together with the letter. And they would wait to get a letter back from their son, but they would not hear from him. One month, the father sat down and wrote a beautiful letter to his son, and at the end he said, enclosed you'll find your monthly allowance. But the father didn't include the check that month. A few days later, the son calls, Dad, Mom, how are you? How are things going at home? How's everything? By the way, the check wasn't in the mail. And life sometimes, when the check is in the mail, when life goes on day after day, we have our health, we have our blessings, we have our businesses, we have our sustenance, our livelihood. Things are just running its course. God calls on us, but we don't respond because we're so busy with our own lives. We're so busy saying, what do I want from life? But suddenly there's no check in the mail, when the things we rely on and depend on a regular basis suddenly don't arrive, we have to stop and think. And we have to call God, our Father in heaven, and say, okay, God, what is it you want? What is it you are asking of us? And if we take this time to reflect and to think about our individual calling, our vocation in life, what we're called to do, and we find more meaning and purpose in our lives, then we will come out of this more inspired, more developed, more mature, and most importantly, more connected to Hashem, to God, to our loving Father in heaven, and to one another. Wishing everyone a wonderful day, and look forward to seeing you soon. Have a happy Chodesh tonight, a blessed new month, and a blessed new Jewish year.